After another interception in practice, it is clear that Cody Barton owns Cam Ward. I'll tell you everything you need to know from day 2 of Titans training camp on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. On today's show, I'm going to break down everything you need to know from day 2 of Tennessee Titans training camp practice. We're going to talk about some roster moves that the Tennessee Titans have made, adding an edge rusher and getting rid of a defensive lineman. We're going to talk about how the 2 defensive rookies were shining on Thursday in Femi Oladejo and Kevin Winston. But we'll start with Cody Barton continuing to own Cam Ward in these practices. Before we get into all of it, do want to thank you for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. Speaking of every day, shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. Couldn't do it without you guys. If you aren't an everydayer, now is the perfect time to be one. I say Monday through Friday, but the Tennessee Titans have an open practice at Nissan Stadium on Saturday night. And you know that I'm going to be here going live after practice to break it all down with you guys. We'll be back on Sunday to get ready for week 2 of Titans training camp. Nobody is giving you as much content for free as I am all year round. So again, get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. But once again, Cody Barton gets an interception on Cam Ward in 7-on-7 during practice. Cam Ward trying to go over the middle. Cody Barton slides in, takes it away from him. And as a matter of fact, Cody Barton should have had another interception on Cam Ward later in practice that might have been a pick 6 as well. And Barton was talking about the interceptions after practice, saying that he's going to be thinking about that missed interception more than the interception that he actually made. And, you know, Cody Barton just has a good handle on what Cam Ward is trying to do right now. He had multiple interceptions off of him during the offseason program. If you remember, that's 3 interceptions now that Cody Barton has had over Cam Ward throughout this summer process that we've been in. Should have been a 4th. And I think the only reaction here is Cody Barton might be a real one. Every now and then, the Tennessee Titans hit on a free agent where they come in and they become an integral part of what the Tennessee Titans are doing, and I think that Cody Barton is that. I have said consistently that I think Cody Barton's versatility and him being a more versatile skill set linebacker than a guy like Kenneth Murray. Kenneth Murray is faster. Kenneth Murray hits harder. Kenneth Murray's more ferocious going downhill. But that's not what I want from my lead linebacker. I want my lead linebacker to be more versatile, to have more of an even skill set where they can drop back in the pass or they can come up and play the run. They can blitz if they need to. I want a linebacker that can do it all, not just a guy who's a downhill hammerhead shark. That is not what I want in my linebacker one. I'm glad that the Tennessee Titans realized the mistake right away. They said, we're going to get Kenneth Murray out of here. And not only that, we're going to get a draft pick back. How did they do that to the Cowboys? Wow, well, it's the Cowboys, so I guess I shouldn't be so shocked. But then they bring in Cody Barton for basically the same exact kind of money that they were paying Kenneth Murray. And I would pay Cody Barton way more than I would pay Kenneth Murray. So the fact that we're able to get Kenneth Murray's contract out of here, get a draft pick, even though it's a 7th rounder, and then bring in Cody Barton to take over that spot, we are already seeing the dividends of that. I think Cody Barton needs to be discussed as one of the best players on this football team, and I think he's going to be if he stays healthy. And the fact that, you know, he's all over Cam, I actually like that. I want a good linebacker over the middle. Cam Ward's great at throwing the ball over the middle of the field. That's where he feels most confident. So he's got to figure out this is not going to be open at the NFL level. I got to move faster. I got to do it here. And here's what I really liked. Not only that this is confirming to me that I think Cody Barton can be the linebacker that I am hoping that he can be for the Titans. I think he will be that. But Cody Barton talked after practice with local media about how Cam Ward comes up to him after practice to ask him what he saw on the interceptions. Hey, how did you pick me off? What did you read? What did you see? So Cam Ward is not just trying to watch film in the quarterback room and talk with his coaches about why this went wrong. He's going to the defensive side of the ball and saying, what are you seeing? How were you able to do that? How do you have a bead on me? Learning it not just from the offensive perspective of this good, this bad, but going to the defensive side of the ball and be like, hey, what is your thought process as a defender when you're doing this to me? Now Cam Ward is not just trying to understand offense, but he's trying to start to understand the defense. And I think that is a great way for a young guy to start his development. Don't just worry about what your offensive coaches would tell you to do. Think about what the defense is trying to do as well. So I think, look, you could obviously be ridiculous, jump the gun and say, oh, Cam Ward threw a couple of bad balls that should have been interceptions. He got picked off a couple of times by Barton in the offseason program. Oh, should we worry? If you're going to do that, then you can do that. I ain't doing that week one of training camp where there are no pads on and we have a rookie getting his first real NFL practice time. I'm not doing anywhere. That would be insane, in my opinion, to overreact that way. But I do love hearing that Cam is trying to understand how this is happening from the other perspective. What are you seeing? And I think that's a great way to approach it because now you're getting built up from both sides. So, yes, it's a mistake. Yes, you'd rather have Cam Ward not throw interceptions. But at the same time, and I always say this stuff, and I don't want to get too existential, but failure is learning. In life, you must fail. Don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid of not learning from failure. You're going to fail in life. Life's not going to go the way that you want. You're going to get bad news, but you can't let that stop you. You have to keep going. You have to learn from it to make you better. So, yeah, Cam's going to throw interceptions. He's going to throw interceptions in games. He's going to have a game where he throws 3 interceptions. You have to learn from that. So, obviously, you don't want to make too many mistakes. There becomes a point in the line where now you're in Levis territory. But I like that Cam Ward is trying to figure things out and trying to learn not just from his coaches about what he's doing, but from the other veterans on the team on the other side of the ball who can still give him a ton of knowledge. Now listen, Cam Ward had the interception to Cody Barton, the almost interception to Cam Barton, but it wasn't all terrible. Hit a couple passes to Van Jefferson in practice, hit a nice out route to Tyler Lockett. He was 5 for 8 and 7 on 7, 4 for 6 in team drills, 9 for 14 on the day, according to Jim Wyatt. So, you know, it's good and bad, but make no mistake about it. The defense won this day. The defense was all over it, and it wasn't just Cam Ward that was struggling. The defense was very open about the fact that they were winning the day, and yeah, a lot of that has to do with Cam Ward and him not being able to get it on track, but at the end of the training camp is for learning, and you're not going to get me to freak out and overreact about Cam Ward's interceptions until we get closer to the season and we're actually with pads on. Now he knows the offense. He's seen these plays. He's seen the looks. But once you start repeating the mistakes over and over, that's when you start to worry. But for right now, mistakes are a good thing. You got to crack a couple eggs to make an omelet, folks. But with that being said, again, the defense won the day. That means there should be a lot of good stuff to talk about on defense. And quite honestly, couldn't be anything better to talk about on defense than 2 rookies having a great day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with family or friends? Maybe it's game day and suddenly you realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money that you save on tickets, you could splurge on food, drinks, merch. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, a clear seat view, and the lowest price guarantee that takes worrying out of buying. That's why I buy all of my tickets on Game Time. I bought NFL, NBA, WNBA, MLB, concert, comedy, all on Game Time, so you should take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets Lowest price, guaranteed. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We are recapping day 2 of Tennessee Titans training camp. We talked about Cody Barton and him having a lot of success on Cam Ward, but how it's only a good sign for going forward because Cam Ward is taking the right approach to fixing the mistakes. But now, it's time to get hyped, folks. If you want a little bit of hype, if you want a little bit of excitement, if you want to be over-the-top optimistic, right now is the time for you because 2 rookie defenders were shining on Thursday. Fantastic on Thursday. And they are the exact 2 rookie defenders that can flip this defense from good to great. They are the 2 rookies that I thought were the biggest projects. And it's Femi Oladejo and Kevin Winston. Let's start with Kevin Winston. Kevin Winston, in my opinion, I made the film video earlier this offseason. I think Kevin Winston has star potential. He can be a star player in the NFL, a star safety. He can be a turnover machine. He can play one-on-one against tight ends and man coverage. He can be a dime linebacker in passing situations over the middle with his ability to hit and tackle. He's a phenomenal tackler. I think Winston could be a star, but he tore his ACL at the beginning of the last college season. He was not full go, didn't participate really during the offseason program. I wasn't quite certain what we're going to get from Kevin Winston. And then you hear he's full go, but they're going to be smart about it. They're not going to overwork him, but he can fully participate. And you're like, okay, that's a great sign. That's a great start. Great first steps for the rookie safety getting back on track. But look, we have Amani Hooker, who's one of the best players on the team. Xavier Woods, a very consistent veteran that was brought over in free agency. Is that the best safety group in the NFL? No, but it's a very solid group compared to the rest of the roster that isn't very good. So it's like, okay, Kevin Winston can take his time. He can develop. I thought one of the things he had to get better at in college, watching his tape, was route identification and kind of just spatial awareness of where he is. He needs to have a better understanding of how things flow out there. But tremendous athletic and physical talent. But the point is, I didn't think that Kevin Winston would come out right away and be an impact player. I thought it would take until, the back half of the season. And look, it very well may. Just because he has one good practice doesn't mean that it won't. But saw a lot of local reports about Kevin Winston. A lot of people pointing out how well that he played in this practice. I saw multiple people talking about how he literally ripped a ball away from Josh Wiley in coverage to turn it into an interception. Like, the ball went up, Wiley was there, and he ripped it out of his hands. Very impressive play. Very impressive play. And Winston said in an interview after practice, like, that was an interception. That was an interception. But either way, he was getting the ball. The Titans defense got the ball. Kevin Winston, very, very impressive to multiple people early on in the first couple of days, thinking he's ahead of schedule. He's a playmaker, very noticeable out there. You see him making plays, running around. And look, I am, not overly optimistic about what the Tennessee Titans can be this year. Like, I don't think the Titans are making the playoffs. I think they'll be improved, but I don't think they're making the playoffs. But if Kevin Winston can be the player he was in college right away for the Titans, like literally right away, just number 3 safety right away, maybe starting safety by the end of the year, that would be massive for the Titans defense. Absolutely massive. And not only that, but you know what else would be absolutely huge? If Femi Oladejo was awesome right away. We've talked about the Titans pass rush and how bad it is. We've talked about how the ceiling for the Titans pass rush is fully determined by Femi Oladejo. Their floor is going to be the floor no matter what, and that's worst pass rush group in the NFL. They were 30th in pressure rate last year and like 25th in sacks, so we're not that far away. But if Femi Oladejo can come in right away and make a massive impact and be even a number 2 edge rusher, even a number 2, the Titans defense has a chance to not just be good, but to be great. To be great. And they're not going to have a great pass rush group, and they're probably going to have to blitz. But the Titans defense can be incredible if Winston and Femi are going to be awesome right away. And Femi, multiple pressures. I saw Teron Davenport from ESPN say that he noticed Femi the whole practice, like he was everywhere. I saw another report said he would have got multiple sacks on Cam Ward, had multiple pressures. Him and Draymond Jones were in the backfield nonstop. But, this is 2 days in a row now. And we got to get the pads on. And I know that instantly what you could do is, well, that's not good for the offensive line. If you're saying our pass rush is terrible, but they got pressure on Cam Ward all day long, that's not good. And look, the offensive line is at a significant, I talked about this. The offensive line is at a significant disadvantage during these non-padded practices. You're taking on an athletic guy, 6'3", 260, coming straight at your chest like Femi Oladejo, and you have no pads to back you up. And you can't go smash a guy like you would with your pads because you don't have pads on, of course. This is your teammates. So I am not going to overreact too much to anything I hear pass rush-wise or anything I hear offensive line-wise, quite honestly, because they need to get pads on before I believe it. And I thought it was funny that Brian Callahan talked nice about James Williams, who we talked about yesterday, the second-year linebacker, who I think will end up being the starter. Said he's totally transformed his body, looks like a totally different player, all that, but we need to see it with pads on. That's how I feel about this. I'm excited about Femi. This is 2 days in a row now, where, remember, yesterday, he got in the backfield multiple times, and on one of them, he batted down a pass at Cam Ward because he was into the backfield. And then today, we're hearing he would have sacked Cam Ward on a bootleg, multiple pressures in the backfield to force throwaways, very noticeable player. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself. But the fact that Femi is having great practices early on when he didn't even play this position until last 6 games of his college career, literally was a different position for most of his football career. The fact that he's already making an impact and he's out there getting first-team reps, that is a great sign for the Titans, because the best version of the Tennessee Titans this year includes a great Femi Oladejo rookie season. So, love to hear what I'm hearing about Femi. Multiple pressures, maybe even a sack in there. Winston with an interception. The rookie defenders we thought were projects are already showing out. That's great news for the Titans. But the Titans made a roster move to address the edge rusher position, but the player that they got rid of to do it, I think, was a little bit of a surprise. Today's episode is brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. Look, fantasy football is back. Fire up the group chat, get your draft board ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and all the overreactions we live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, me and maybe some of you could be playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and if you aren't, you should too. Whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league, Yahoo makes the draft day experience super, super smooth. And, Yahoo's been around for a while now, so they've perfected easy setup, the great mobile app, Smack Talk. It just hits different in Yahoo Fantasy. So to celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. It all begins August the 4th. Stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Let's make this fantasy season the best one yet. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast, breaking down day 2 of Tennessee Titans training camp practices. We talked about Cam Ward's interception to Cody Barton and why I'm so excited about Cody Barton. We talked about how the defense won the day, and that included some great stuff from Titans rookies Femi Oladejo and Kevin Winston. But now I want to talk about The roster move the Titans made. We talked earlier this week about the retirement of Lorenzo Carter and how the Titans needed to add an edge rusher to the group and a veteran. At that, I talked about names like Zadarius Smith, Matthew Judon, Jadeveon Clowney, but the Tennessee Titans went a little bit lower in name value. They bring in Jihad Ward. Now, Jihad Ward is another big physical edge rusher, 6'5", 285 pounds. He can play a little bit on the inside if needed, and he played all 17 games for the Minnesota Vikings last year. The Vikings had an incredible pass rush group, and he led the Minnesota Vikings in pressures. He had 31 pressures. Now, he only had 1 sack, but the year before that, he had 5. The year before that, he had 3, and he's replacing Lorenzo Carter. How many sacks did Lorenzo Carter have last year? 0. So, hey, that's 1 better, right? But again, 31 pressures. He got 14 quarterback hits last year. He was a guy who didn't play a ton. He played like 500 snaps for the Vikings, I do believe. And let me double check, 467. So under 500 snaps, that's only 41% of the defensive snaps in 17 games. And yet he led the Minnesota Vikings in pressures. So look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Jihad Ward is some incredible player, but the versatility that he gives you, the durability that he gives you, he checks the boxes for a big physical edge. I think it's a pretty solid replacement for Lorenzo Carter, and it gives them some versatility as well. Again, he can kick inside and rush from there if needed. Now, Jihad Ward's 31 years old, folks. This is not a young player. This is not a guy with a ton of potential. This is a guy who needs to come in and fill a role that is helping Femi Oladejo. Now, what I found most interesting about the addition of Jihad Ward, it's not actually the addition of Jihad Ward. It's who the Tennessee Titans got rid of. And they got rid of Keondre Coburn. I could not believe it. I could not believe it when I saw it. Titans waived Keondre Coburn. And if you remember, Keondre Coburn is T'Vondre Sweat's backup. And he was a mentor to T'Vondre Sweat at Texas, where they went to college together. And when T'Vondre Sweat was drafted, Jeffrey Simmons and Keondre Coburn were named as the 2 guys who are going to mentor him. They're going to put T'Vondre Sweat in the locker room right in between Simmons and Coburn. And I have said throughout that Coburn is basically a babysitter. I've said he's not good enough to get the roster stability that he's gotten here. I think the only reason he was on the team for as long as he was last year is because he does babysit T'Vondre Sweat. And I have said last year and this year that I do not like the Tennessee Titans' interior defensive line depth. I'm not a fan. But here's my thing. I'm still shocked by the Keondre Coburn wave, because who is the Titans' backup nose tackle now? It's not Keondre Coburn. James Lynch is not a nose tackle. He's an interior defensive lineman, but he's more of a backup, in my opinion, for like Jeff, not Sweat as the one technique, big physical run-stuffing nose tackle. That's not what James Lynch is. And Carlos Watkins, another veteran who the Titans brought in, he's not that either. So now you have to look at the undrafted free agents. You look at a guy like Cam Horsley, who is a big, physical, athletic guy out of Boston College. You look at Philip Bleedy, who's another big, physical nose tackle type. If the Titans are willing to get rid of Keondre Coburn, who has not only been their veteran backup nose tackle, but also is a mentor to T'Vondre Sweat, that means, to me, that either one or both of those young interior defensive linemen, undrafted free agents who I just mentioned, one or both of those guys are impressing right now. The Titans feel comfortable enough to not have a veteran nose tackle on the roster behind T'Vondre Sweat when Sweat is only in his second year. That means one of those undrafted free agents has really popped so far to the team, and they're willing to take the risk of not having a veteran there to get a better look at those young guys. So that's a good sign for the interior defensive line depth if one of those guys could pop. But that is going to do it for me today. Titans have practice on Friday. It's not open to the media. Saturday is open to the fans. It's at Nissan Stadium. Can't wait to hear and see everything going on with that. And then most likely, God willing, as they say, I'll be here on Saturday night after that practice to go live and break everything down with you guys. But that's going to do it for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.